Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Thursday, and all of our guests, including Ray Ferraro, standing by. Brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. G-Men home at the LEC for 2 games this weekend. Saturday, they take on Kamloops, 7 o'clock. Sunday, Giants face off against Spokane, 4 o'clock. Don't forget, you can enjoy a family post-game skate Sunday as well. Head to VancouverGiants.com to get single-game tickets, flex packs, and more. From NHL and ESPN, Canucks analyst on Sportsnet, Ray Ferraro joining us now. Thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. That's quite an effort today, Dolly.
I forgot. I had it written down on a piece of paper. Listen.
Listen to what?
I had it written down. I got up this morning.
Is that an excuse?
The dog ate my note that I had it written on.
Yeah, sure he did. Yeah.
Next week.
Oh, yeah. Great. Thanks. Can't wait.
Hey, Ray, 3 straight wins for the Canucks, 3-1 over the Predators last night. Despite all the chaos, all the turmoil, what are you seeing on the ice?
Well, I did the game against Washington, and if you remember the first about 70 seconds or so, they were running all over the place in their zone. And somehow Washington didn't score that shift. I think if they score, it just felt like, oh boy, it's going to be a problem, right? But they dug themselves out, and for 3 games, it's looked a lot like last year. They've been aggressive to the puck. They've been up the ice. They've not spent time, they defend, but the puck stays most of the time to a manageable place. They're not hanging on by their fingernails. It looks a lot like it was supposed to look. And it's funny, confidence is a weird thing, right? We all know it. We've seen sports forever. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you just know it. You can sense it. And now they look like the Rangers did in December. The Rangers, into the last 19 games at the end of 2024, they were 4 wins and 15 losses. How does that happen? And now they go 8-3-3. They're back in the playoff race. And the Canucks, basically, their January has been what the Rangers' December was. And it just no good. And not good enough, and inconsistent, and good for 30 minutes, but not 50 that you would need to win a game. And then they've been terrific here. The goaltending's been awesome, right? Both guys, that's the way it is. Quinn is it just a remarkable level of play. And then all those guys that hadn't scored, they all scored in the last couple of games. The only one that hasn't is DeBrusk. But everybody else has. Suter's got a couple of goals. Miller scored. Pettersson scored. That's how they're going to have to play. That's how they claw back into this.
Ray, you're younger than me, but we're around the same vintage. I just love a stat like last night's that comes out about Quinn Hughes. Another multi-point game, 20 multi-point games this season before 50 games, and he's the first NHL defenseman to do that since Larry Robinson and Paul Coffey in the mid-'80s. There was one season there where both of them got there. Does it not blow you away that oftentimes Quinn Hughes throws out these numbers, comes up with these numbers, and the names Bobby Orr and Dennis Potvin and Paul Coffey, guys you and I remember, those names come up.
Well, and I'd also say, when you say about the mid-'80s, that was not lockdown 90s exactly. We were all scoring in the mid-'80s. There was lots of offense. And so to be able to put numbers up alongside that era, I mean, those are amazing players, right? Hall of Fame players, Larry and Koff, amazing players. And I think there's an enjoyment to watching certain players play as well as they're great players, but there's an enjoyment. I enjoy watching Hughes stuck at the blue line. There's nowhere to go. And it's like he feeds the forward a carrot to chase. And then all of a sudden he spins and he's gone. And the goal against Washington, the first goal, he went right between those 2 defenders to the backhand and then scored. I don't know many guys that would actually like even try that. It's a handful. I'm talking about defensemen, because if you get stripped there, it's a 2-on-1 going back the other way. But he's like, nah, I can get through there. I can, I got that play. I can see it, and once he sees it, he's able to execute it. I do think he's like great players in like a great quarterback, or great hockey players, a great basketball player. I use those three sports maybe together. They see the next play quicker than everybody else, right? Like a lot of guys see it and then it's too late to execute it. It's almost like he's making the play now, but he already sees where he's got to go next. And that's just, that's a brilliance to his game.
Ray, that was one heck of an article that Jim Rutherford did with Gary Mason. What were your thoughts about it? What did you glean out of that?
I don't think, from what I've seen with Jim, and this goes back to Carolina, I don't think he does anything by accident.
Yeah.
And I guess because a person of his stature does the article, everybody's focused in on it, and it's newsworthy and noteworthy, of course. But a couple of weeks before, or a month before, I don't even know, whenever it was, it seemed in the city, everybody wants information. What's going on? What's the real thing? What's the truth? How come they're not being more transparent? And one of my favorite movies is A Few Good Men. And Cruz has got Nicholson on the stand, and he wants the truth, and he gets the truth, and you can't handle the truth.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I thought. Like, was any of that really surprising to anybody? Or was it just surprising that Jim said it?
Yes.
Right.
And so he goes ahead and says it, which people have been talking about in the city. Like, anywhere I go, does anyone ask you about the power play, guys?
No.
No, they ask you about this, right? And so he just went out and said, boom, here it is. And now JT does, they asked him yesterday, I guess, and he's like, I'm not going to comment on it. Like, what's he going to say?
Yeah.
Like, what is anybody going to say? Now, it's all out there now, and they'll either make a trade or they won't. If the return sucks, then I'm assuming by the article, they're going to wait till the summer or wait closer to the deadline when somebody might become a little more urgent. Right. And, it's not an enviable position by any means. There's not even a story you could build to say, like, this is an enviable thing. Like, they can really rally around this. I mean, it appears the die's cast, and it's just whether it's now, the deadline, or June, right? Like, that's what it seems like.
Ray, Carolina sure did something big last week. We haven't got your thoughts on it, getting Rantanen and Hall. That's the big first move in the East. You got all those teams trying to get first place overall. What were your thoughts on that trade?
Well, my first thought was the return, of course, because you look at the trade and you try to evaluate it like immediately.
Yeah.
And so my thought is, just on the heels, we're talking about Miller and Pettersson, is, do you think the people in Denver are thinking that's enough of a return?
Right.
Right. The answer is no, because if you trade a player of that stature, of that ability, of that age, how are you going to get the right parts back? Like, you're just not. What it does is probably set up a second trade to try and fill what you're now lost. I mean, Rantanen's an amazing player. Like, I know you guys have been to the arena and you've seen him live. Mm-hmm. He's like a snowplow out there. Like, he's enormous, huge man. And he's got great hands and a sweet passer, and he makes Carolina way better. Carolina, I've done a lot of their playoff games, and man, I love the way they play. There's just so much energy and aggression in their game, and they always bump their head on the ceiling in the playoffs because they can't score. They don't get that extra goal. And I think what they've done is they've built the ability to get a proven player for that spot. Now, the next trick is, can they get him signed? And I guess you got till June to figure that out. But, man, that was a big deal.
We found out just moments ago that Miro Heiskanen is doubtful for Finland at the Four Nations Arena. I know you worked the Vegas-Dallas game on Tuesday, and you were a few feet away from the incident. But what was your take on Mark Stone's hit on Miro Heiskanen?
Well, my first reaction is the one that's on the tape. Like right about here, I said, "Oh, what's he doing? Like, what was he doing?" I didn't see the play further out where Hintz's stick goes in between Stone's feet. Stone toe picks at the same time. And when you toe pick, you always go the direction that you're going. You don't fall backwards. I watched this play 100 times. I still don't know why he's thinking of that play. I know, look, Stone is a puck thief, right? He's always in the play trying to steal the puck. He's better at it, I think, than anybody in the league. But he appears like he was going to dive forward initially, and I'm like, I wonder why he would do that. Then I watched the play, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really think the intention was to dive forward like that. The intention was to stop up and to get forward, and it totally sucks for Dallas. Totally. Like week to week, that doesn't mean 1 week or 2 weeks, right? That's the way I read this stuff is like that's closer to 3 or a month. And man, what a devastating blow to Dallas. What that might do, guys, is depending what happens between now and the deadline, which I guess most teams have got about 4 or 5 games left, is maybe Dallas jumps on a move quicker than they would have. They have all kinds of cap space. Like when they lost Tyler Seguin, they didn't put him on LTI. They just chewed it.
Right.
And so they're working under the cap, accruing cap space. They were going to make a big deal, I think, anyway. I think this probably makes it more likely that it would be quicker rather than later.
Off to Seattle, then Boston, Ray?
Yep, in Seattle tonight. First live look at Macklin Celebrini. Really looking forward to that. Really cool. Sidney Crosby was in here this week, Macklin's favorite player. And Crosby was raving about his game, about the way he plays. And I think there's a lot of Crosby's energy into the game that Macklin has. Like I think as an 18-year-old to play the game the way he does is incredibly rare. And Crosby told him to enjoy it. He's like, even when you're losing, just enjoy it. And I think when we watch Macklin play, you see a joy to him, to the way he plays. And San Jose's got a great player there. I'm looking forward to it tonight.
Safe travels, Ray. Thanks for this. We'll talk to you next week. And I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
No, I'm not even going to say it. And
No.
Donnie, how old are your kids?
Late teens, early 20s.
Yeah. When did you stop telling them to clean their room because you were wasting your breath?
Well, I still do that, but not as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's like the ship has sailed.
Yeah.
It's sailed.
Take her to the bank, guaranteed. Put it down. Write it down, Ray. 100% next Thursday.
Clip that, Ryan.
Yeah, but just think. You wrote it down, and you still forgot.
The dog ate it. Dog ate it. Come on, Ray.
Yeah. The dog ate it. All right. Have a good week, you guys.
Safe travels again, Ray Ferraro. Ray Ferraro joins us from NHL on ESPN, Canucks analyst on Sportsnet.